Hello and welcome everyone to Deconstructing the Construct, episode 31, I think. I actually wanted to start with a recap of the frequencies that have been detected leaving since July, care of a very talented friend of mine. Because even though they have been detected and measured as leaving the construct, the planet, whichever way you want to look at it, they are still waving at us on the way out, and people are still experiencing the leaving of certain frequencies. Even if they are no longer supported here and they left in August, they're still playing out for some people. And I'll just go over that list. Back in July, this list started to be compiled. And starvation and hunger was the first, followed by fear and separation. Now, these frequencies are on a spectrum. So what was noted, for example, with fear was also courage was leaving. Because in the absence of fear, courage isn't all that necessary. So the frequencies that I'm mentioning are often at one end. Maybe not the most extreme, but at one end. But again, it's a spectrum. Paranoia, apathy, narcissism, adoration, worthiness, there's a big one for some, fake love, dishonesty, jealousy, competition, and on November 15th, the virus itself was detected, which I believe is when many of us started expressing, well, probably within a week or two of that, expressing flu-like symptoms without really being sick. The split mind, sabotage, the frequency of takeover, and the newie, which is big, is the death frequency, which appears to be on the same spectrum again as survival. So the death frequency was November 29. And since then, we've had people having dreams about dying or being led to somewhere where they know they're going to die. Is everybody hearing me okay? Yep, okay. And sometimes like 2 or 3 in a night, I've heard stories of too. Knowing they're being set up or being led to some place that's, where there's a plan to kill them, all these sorts of things. It's been expressing itself that way for a lot of dream time, clearing and healing and purging going on. So that's the list of frequencies, and I'll post it with the archive of this as well. There's been a lot of physical symptoms and things that we've talked about over the last couple of months that are still ongoing. So what we call the past life review, well, because it's actually kind of more like a this life review, or includes one. Really having to, and that can happen, that again can play itself out in dream time, but not necessarily. Having sort of an existential crisis, or going back and reviewing anything you feel you were at fault with, how you handled people and relationships, things you did as a kid, you know, lots of going down memory lane. So that's still happening quite a lot. Now, I'd speculated the other week that my experience with the pink chest, with people turning up, that we may well be at a point where we're seeing a lot of that play out now on the ground. And it may happen in the same order. Well, over the last week or so, I've seen the evidence of that for myself. So for me, we are at the galactic level of things playing out. And it's playing out, all the same things that are playing out here are playing out there. Said that we're all in the same space now. You know, that the multiverse, the multi-dimensions is now one. And even though we can't see it for the most part, that is changing. And the same things are playing out, as I said. Some may express that as we are at war, it just hasn't been declared. I wouldn't go that far. For me, it is everything is being condensed and pushed into this space, and everybody is undoing what they have done, whether they want to or not. Whether they're being, whether they're doing it willingly or it's happening anyway, regardless of their objections. There is already hints too that we're looking at the angelic and the God realm playing out, just starting to move into those frequencies as well. It's going to happen very quickly compared to, I mean, it happened here in 3D pretty quickly too, but I think it's going to happen even quicker than that. It feels like a passing through. So that galactic level has to come into this space, clean up and undo all they have done on their way out, for those who won't be able to stick around. And just keep an eye on, you know, channelings from people who claim to channel certain galactic factions. They could get interesting. Well, they have gotten interesting in my opinion, but even more so. There has been interference for me at my end, from the galactic level. There's been all kinds of fun and games in what we would call fuckery at this end with technology, but I'm constantly seeing it all as evidence of desperate measures. And my last little piece of news is that I have heard from Leeloo and Moira and Oliver over the last week or so. And because my computer is monitored, I know that. I don't know how many different groups or factions are listening in on everything that goes on. There's plenty. They are being, Oliver, Leeloo and Crew are being very cautious about what they say. And what they did say yet again was that not only can they not see past 2017, but that no one can see past 2017. They said that no one really knows what this is going to look like. But I know that wasn't an accurate statement. There are things that are just not being said because they're being monitored. And one thing we have all, I think, unless you completely live with your face inside a device all the time, you have to have noticed the skies, and especially the sunsets. The cloud cover is pretty consistent and persistent still, just about everywhere. The sunsets are incredible. I've never seen anything like it over the last month or so, and getting more spectacular. And you don't just have a red sunset or an orange sunset or a purple sunset or a gold sunset. You can have all of them, and it's constantly changing from 1 minute to the next. They're phenomenal at the moment. Whether it is a sun simulator or some kind of covering device, whatever it is failing consistently with the sun. And to me, it's just all evidence that this construct is in fact breaking down or deconstructing. The colours are just extraordinary. And more and more people are we've even had phone calls to this house by people who have no idea. Going, have you seen outside? Have you seen the sunset? So that's a 15-minute recap, I guess, of what's been going on over the last few months and how it can be expressing itself. But the big one for me that I'm seeing that's having the biggest effect is purging of the virus itself and the release of this death frequency. There does appear to be in the collective as a whole almost shock and awe, lots of confusion. It's as if the collective is going through the stages of grief. The collective is waking up in such a way that it's, for those of you who are sensitive and can feel into that, it can be overwhelming. And there's a lot that's not yours that you're feeling into. So again, and we're all becoming far more sensitive. So we really need to be discerning and clear about what is ours and what isn't. More so than ever. So that's it from me. If anyone has anything to add or questions, just put your hand up and I can unmute you. Lots being outed in the UK. You want to elaborate, Jay? No? Okay. More sensitive is true. Can't go to work without getting irritated. Yeah. Okay, do you want me to, I'll unmute you, Jay, if you want to elaborate. I'm just going to find you. Okay, you're
Hi.
unmuted, Jay.
Hi there. Hi, Lisa. Yeah, there was just, I don't know if I'll remember, but there was stuff about the white hats today, being outed here for, can you hear me okay?
Can anyone else hear Jay?
Hi.
Yep. Okay, I can't. Interesting.
Oh. Hi. Hi, Sophie.
Got you now.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. There was just stuff that I probably won't remember now. There was stuff about the white hats today, being funded, being in bed with. It's been coming out for a wee while, but it kind of seems to be coming to a head now about them being in bed with ISIS and about them being funded by the UK government. So there's just sort of bits and pieces that all seem to be coming to a head just now about the guy. There was an African guy in a leader in Ghana who was saying that why should people in Africa need to take charity from the West because they live in such a high resource country. So that was a completely different view of Africa and them wanting to stand on their own feet. So it just seems to be lots of things today that were really positive and that just more transparency.
It's going to continue.
Yeah.
It's not going to be. I don't think the brakes can be put on it now.
Nope.
Everything does seem to be preparing. I mean, they're preparing the majority for the big disclosures. And you can feel the factions at play here, you know. Those who want full disclosure of everything and those who are desperately trying to prevent that. But it won't stop. It can't stop now. Thank you, Jay. Anyone else? Well, this is going to be a short call. Yes, I saw US on. I saw a bit of full foot this morning. Saw not much, but share some sky shots. I haven't got any ready to share. There's been a lot of photo taking lately, though, I must say. Changes in my personal life, moving so fast, I'm really being pushed by my committee to listen, trust, and allow every moment. That's, yeah, I can actually say that that's another thing that's come up for a few people is the choice point to trust in this process. Are you going to trust it and trust in a positive outcome? Or are you going to stay on the fence because, for whatever reason, don't want to get your hopes up or don't want to get disappointed or the fear of change or whatever, but being pushed to really make a choice about trusting in what your heart and your intuition is telling you. Total put up or shut up time if changes are being presented to you. Yes, nicely said, P. If I doubt or fear for a moment, the result comes back almost immediately. Nazis based in South American underground bases have previously told this writer, oh, this is a Fulford piece, they no longer wanted to conquer the world and just wanted to be left alone to play with their flying saucers. Maybe they should just announce that they will share that and other technology with the rest of the world. It doesn't feel as good as last year did. I think this time last year, we were right in the throes of a brand new wave of opportunities and possibilities. 12 months later, 14 months later, we're at what it feels very much like the resolution of that. But and we're getting exactly what we wanted. We're getting exactly what we asked for, which is transparency. And so much ugliness has been hidden that it's got to come up and out. It's got to be released. It's got to be let go of. It's got to be cleared. So I don't see it as that we're in a worse place or a darker place. It's just we are finally purging. And I love the bruise analogy because that's exactly where it feels like we're at. To me, we are going backwards. That hasn't changed, going backwards through the course of events. And if you look at it like a bruise, you know, it started off a bit yellow because we're going backwards. And now it's a big, beautiful black and blue shiner. But right on the other side of that is nothing. It's before the hit. So I am very positive. I feel very hopeful. That's where I'm at. So, anybody else? Oh, yeah. Sorry. Jay, you're unmuted.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I didn't really see any follow-up to it, but there was a UK battleship came down to visit you. Did you see it? Did you give a wave as it was passing?
What?
There was a UK battleship came down to Australia just about a week ago or a few days ago.
Oh, that's news. Okay, I didn't know.
Oh, you missed that. Another thing was just to say that it was the BBC that outed the funding of the terrorists. So that's so mainstream it hurts. So that was pretty amazing. Yeah.
Ah, good. Yeah, there are things finally breaking through on mainstream, is what it seems.
Yeah.
And is it starting to look like Fox News may have somewhat changed its agenda? I mean, I can't imagine, but that may be the case. But if that's true, then that's really going to put some things in front of the American audience, which would be interesting. Thank you, Don. And JJ. JJ, you're unmuted.
Turn off the stuff. Put my headphones on. I'm sorry, I wasn't prepared, but let's see here. Okay, you mentioned hopeful. A long time ago, I realized that given the shit around us, you have two choices. You can get all despondent and get bummed out and get pulled into whatever kind of dark zone, been there, done that, lived to tell about it. Or you can take the exact opposite approach, and that is, whatever the shit is, it doesn't matter. It's basically there so that you can, one, experience it, but two, know that it's not just temporary, it's just one option. And you can choose by your own orientation, action, decision, choice, intent, whatever, a different path. And if you don't choose it, it's never going to happen. So all this shit around us is, to me, a way of saying, finally it's coming up. It's been there all along. We got to get through this stuff because we don't want to carry this as baggage with us. This is the stuff we want to leave behind.
Yeah.
And the only way to get there is by not focusing on it, recognizing it, but focusing on where we want to be. So, enough of the soapbox on that. Fox News and other reporters who are probably CIA assets have been dropping like flies in a number of big industries. And so that influence is starting to wane to a certain extent. Fox seems a little more ahead of the curve, but the curve is still kind of flat at this point. But it's a move up.
Was Fox a Murdoch?
Yeah, still is.
And it still
is. The thing is that Murdoch Sr. has let go of the reins, and Murdoch Jr., who, I mean, who knows if he's just as bad or whatever, but it's a change of management. The thing is that the CIA link is there. It's in all media. So by going after the central point, i.e. the CIA, the strings get cut, and those assets are now floating. And that's why a lot of them are retiring, because they no longer have protection, so to speak. So they're exiting, I mean, not hugely, but all of them are agents, let's put it that way. Mm. And so when you get rid of them, all of a sudden the power structures within the MSN different corporate structures start to fail, because they've been in balance, they've been on top of their game, and they've been manipulating, and all of a sudden the strings are cut and their foundation's starting to go away and they're starting to topple. So that's a good sign. We're starting to see it's going to take a while. That's basically what it boils down to, I guess. But it's happening.
Ah, yes. Lachlan now at the helm, plus much more board intervention. And a bit of a coup last month, share rights, etc., apparently. Yeah, something must have shifted, for sure. It's funny to hear what everyone's sort of version of disclosure is. And whether it's soft. I don't know what the alternative to soft is. And I know that for some, we get frustrated that the disclosure isn't happening fast enough, but if reading into and feeling into the collective is anything to go by, the collective can't take it at a much faster pace than it's happening. There's a lot of frenetic energy in the collective, because there is so much happening at once, and there is a lot of disclosure on so many different levels, on so many different subjects happening. That it is a little bit too much for some.
Another aspect that I just saw today was that the Department of Justice, along with the FBI, is considered to be dirty. I mean, this is official. Like, the military is saying, we're going to go in and clean out these organizations. Okay, well, I mean, we all kind of knew the FBI, we all CIA, all those intelligence agencies, but and we suspected, and I knew, and most of us knew, but to have it confirmed that the Department of Justice, in other words, the entire court system, is now suspect. Anyway, more than that. But the point is that it means it's reaching down into the legal system where there is a tremendous amount of corruption. So it's starting to, the root structure kind of where it just keeps branching and branching and branching and going off into these little dark holes is starting to become more and more evident, which I think is a good sign too.
Oh, well, anybody who's dealt with the justice system knows it's completely fraudulent. No matter what country you're in, it's not just the Department of Justice in the US, the court system, the legal system. So it has to reach into that. If this is a true cleanup. So, yeah, I agree. Full disclosure includes a lot of ugly stuff. And I still think that everything has to play out here. This is ground zero. And we are the cleanup crew. We are cleaning this place up as it's collapsing, so to speak. And I know that for some it's like, well, what's the point? If it's going to go anyway, why bother with the cleanup? But because it's all energetic. And if this is never to happen again, then these frequencies need to be cleaned up, resolved, transmuted, whatever. Or we take them with us. And that's not the plan. So that's how it feels to me. Anyone else? Something like that, Jenny. That works. Observe, acknowledge, delete. I feel like a strong wind is blowing everything around like leaves in the air, and we are here to try and clean up. It's a bit like that. Tomorrow, Teresa. Okay. That's it. I will post these frequencies as they are, as the list is today, as at today, with the archive of this. It is happening in some respects as gently as possible because it's happening you put on a personal level in dream time, a lot of it. Whether it's, you know, the life review or the death frequency. Even the unworthiness, which was a big one, played out a lot in dream time. But again, it's about, for me, it's an individual inside job, but we're all doing it collectively. And the breaking through normal, that's a hard one. Because there's so much in this that entails so much, our belief systems, our hopes and fears, all of it is tied up in this normal frequency that we're breaking through. And cognitive dissonance is on the rise. But to me, it's all good. It's all good. So, I'll see you guys next week. I will see the members tomorrow. And be gentle with yourselves, as usual. Bye for now.